When we vote, we have to say our names.
We'll call for a vote from each of us verbally
Okay.
at the end of the meeting or after we have a second and there's no more discussion.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
John and I are on, in case you're wondering.
That's wonderful.
Is that loud enough?
Probably is not.
We have Commissioner Beckstead, Fortner,
See
and
there.
Sullivan.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Mr. Chairman?
Both.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Sure you're all three there.
So can you hear us pretty well? Jack, John?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We probably need to turn this volume down a little bit here, I think, on the speaker. Because it's up.
Audio or the
Mike, off your phone. Do I?
I believe it's time, so I will call this meeting to order. I have some guidelines from the Attorney General, and they are, some of you need to put your phone on mute somewhere. I don't know where it's feeding back. Thank you. We have some guidelines from the Attorney General with regard to Open Meetings Act and how we do this. And so I'll just read, where possible, video conference is the best alternative method to holding meetings. And at the start with our meeting, I'm calling for our clerk, Tanya Shelby, to come and do a roll call so that you can hear us all answer. Some of you are seeing remotely on our video feed, and some of you are just audio. So if you come in and do our roll call, please.
Good afternoon. As I read your name, would you please indicate that you are on the call by saying here? Chairman Fortner.
Present.
Chairman Pro Tem Crowley.
Here.
Commissioner Beckstead.
Here.
Commissioner Totticini.
I'm here.
And Commissioner Sullivan.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. In our agenda, we have approval of the agenda first. Mr. Stark, is there any change to the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, there's no changes to the proposed agenda in front of you.
Great, thank you. Let's look at new business number one, consideration and renewal of property casualty insurance for the county from Kaiser Millennium Levitt Insurance Agency. Is one of you going to come talk to us? Ah, yeah, Cynthia, thank you.
Mr. Chair, do we need to make a motion to approve the agenda?
Yes.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the agenda for March 23rd, 2020.
This is Jack. I second.
All in favor, say aye. Roll call.
Aye. Aye.
We need the roll call. Okay. Hold it tight on the phone there, gentlemen.
For our roll call vote, I have
Of approval of agenda.
of the approval of the agenda, Chairman Fortner,
Yes.
Chairman Pro Tem Crowley,
Yes.
Commissioner Beckstead,
Yes.
Commissioner Totticini,
Yes.
Commissioner Sullivan.
Yes.
Thank you. Back to number one.
Good morning, those of you who are here and those of you who are not. I'm Cynthia Singleton from the Risk Management Department, and this is our annual fun of renewing our liability insurance. We had several people that got sent out bids. We got a couple back that were both really good. And we have Bob Kaiser and Nate Duckett here to present the opportunities to you so that you can choose from the available choices that we have. Thank you.
Bob, you want to be first? Thank you.
So, Bob Kaiser with Kaiser Millennium Levitt, and we sent this, and first of all, we want to thank you all for letting us work on this, and also what amazing weird times we're in today. But anyway, we sent it out to.
Isn't that notebook that's laying on the desk says Sullivan on?
Say that again.
Mike, we can hear you if you're talking. So while Mr. Kaiser is speaking, why don't we hold that for just a little bit?
Okay, so we sent the county's insurance out to about 13 different companies. We did get 2 quotes back, one from the incumbent company, which Travelers, and we received a quote also from the Association of Counties. Have all the commissioners had a chance to look over the proposals at this point?
We have the proposals in our packet, and so if there are questions, I think we should go ahead and address that now. Commissioner Fortner, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I do. I've spoken with Commissioner Beckstead because he and I both have to have professional insurance. And it's my understanding, and please correct me, Mr. Kaiser or Mr. Echoes, if I'm wrong, the Association of Counties insurance is a little less, but it includes a claims made policy. And in the event we ever were to leave, we would have to pay a tail policy. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And can you tell me
Hold on.
kind of what the tail policies generally are running?
So let's make sure we have it straight. So the Travelers policy is on an occurrence form. The Association of Counties policy is on a claims made form. The simplest way to look at it, claims made form is a 1-year policy. The tail portion of it is if you did ever want to leave the Association of Counties, then yes, you'd have to buy a tail. One of the things that was probably most concerning to us of that is that the Association of Counties in the policy, it reads that once you decide to leave, or if you're kicked out of the Association of Counties, the pool will decide how long of a tail you can purchase. And at that point, they will determine the premium for that tail. So to get to your point, Commissioner Fortner, we really don't know what that tail would be. We asked the Association of Counties where they thought it would be, and they said they thought that the cost of the tail would be between 75 and 100% of your last year's premium.
Which we're talking $1 million there.
Over $1 million, yeah. But they couldn't be, and his comment, he said, I wish I could be more clear, and I know it's kind of vague. So we don't know if that's for a 1-year tail, 3-year tail. 3-year tail could be more. So that was one of the big differences in the policies. There were a few more if you would like me to visit with you about them. I think the one that's going to stand out the most is the fact that we have a claims made versus an occurrence policy.
Commissioner Fortner, anything else?
Mr. Kaiser,
Yes, sir.
is it your recommendation that we go with Travelers?
Yes. There's just, in our professional opinion, to go off of occurrence to a claims made is just not, I wouldn't consider that really fiscally responsible down the road. It just opens up way too many doors that could cost the county a lot of money.
All right. I have no further questions.
Mr. Beckstead, any questions?
No, sir.
Commissioner Totocini?
I see on here, it says inland marine. Could you explain that to me?
Inland marine is primarily your equipment. And so it goes back to the old days. We had ocean marine. You really don't know where it's at, so we cover it wherever it. So in the insurance industry, you still have ocean marine and inland marine. So it doesn't matter where your backhoe is or where your tractor is. We're going to cover it as it moves around.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Sullivan, any questions?
Does this cover the part where we had the little gal that got hurt at McGee Park?
I don't believe this does.
Say that again.
It's a different kind of insurance there, so that would not be included in this policy.
So this policy, Commissioner, will cover spectators at that location. This policy, nor would the Association of Counties policy cover the contestants. That's something that, more, we really have to address with insurance policies from that third party renting McGee Park, and as much as they will work waivers of liability for any participant there. But no, so to answer your question, yes, we cover participants and people, or not participants, excuse me, we cover spectators at McGee Park. But as far as the actual people, bull riders, barrel racers, no, it's not going to cover them.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Any other questions from commissioners? I would entertain a motion for approval of the annual renewal of property casualty insurance. And is there a motion for that?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
this is Fortner. I move that we approve the insurance to Kaiser Millennial Levitt as recommended.
Travelers.
Second.
Yes, through travelers.
And I would second that. This is John.
Okay, so let's make sure that we're clarifying that is through travelers. It is not the New Mexico County's insurance pool. And
That's correct.
Thank you. Okay, so now for a roll call vote, Tanya?
Chairman Fortner,
Yes.
Chairman Pro Tem Crowley,
Yes?
Commissioner Beckstead,
Yes.
Commissioner Totticini,
Yes,
and Commissioner Sullivan.
Yes.
Thank you.
Passes 5-0. Thank you, gentlemen. And you're free to go about your business and continued social distancing. You too. The second one on our list is consideration of approval of application for Law Enforcement Protection Fund. Under Sheriff Tanner, come to the podium.
Under Sheriff Tanner here. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of the commission. I'll just jump into it for the sake of time. This is annual Law Enforcement Protection Fund application from the State of New Mexico Department of Finance. The funding level is determined using a formula based on the population of the jurisdiction and the number of sworn full-time law enforcement personnel. This year, we're eligible to receive $87,600. This money will be spent between the purchase of equipment and advanced training as we've done in previous years. No match funds are required. We're proposing $25,000 for advanced law enforcement training and the remaining $62,600 for the purchase of nationally recognized minimum standard equipment. And I would ask the commission for consideration of approval of the application.
Commissioners, there's any questions? Did I lose somebody there on the audio feed? Mr. Sullivan, are you there?
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Beckstead and Fortner, are you both there? I think we lost them.
We lost for a minute.
Okay, we're good.
Sorry.
Okay, you were muted. Okay, we're looking at number 2, and I'd ask if there's any questions. Didn't hear any.
oh, I have a question. You mentioned population. Does that include like the Navajo Nation, the population?
It's the overall size of the county.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion for approval of this application for law enforcement protection fund.
I would second that. It's John.
Thank you, Mr. Beckstead. We have a motion and a second. Ms. Shelby, would you come and tell us, do the roll on that, call on that?
Okay, Chairman Fortner,
Yes.
Chairman Pro Tem Crowley,
Yes.
Commissioner Beckstead,
Yes.
Commissioner Totticini,
Yes.
Commissioner Sullivan.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's a 5-0 vote. So that number 3, let's go keep going. Thank you. Joe Sawyer, this consideration of acceptance of donation of 0.42 of an acre in San Juan County for La Plata Fire Station expansion.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, San Juan County Fire Department received a $200,000 New Mexico Fire Protection Grant administered by the State Fire Marshal's Office to remodel and expand La Plata Fire Station Number 2. The expansion requires 0.42 acres of additional land, which adjoining property owners Robert and Nancy Seebeck have agreed to donate. Staff asked the commission to accept the Seebeck's donation so the construction can proceed. And a boundary line adjustment survey and a phase 1 environmental assessment are being completed on the property.
Thank you, Joe. Any questions from commission?
None here.
Okay, with that, I would entertain a motion.
Second.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve. This is Jack.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Yes, this is Mike.
Thank you, Mike. We have a motion and a second. Would you please do a roll call and attend?
Chairman Fortner,
Yes.
Chairman Pro Tem Crowley,
Yes.
Commissioner Beckstead,
Yes.
Commissioner Totticini,
Yes.
and Commissioner Sullivan.
Yes.
Thank you.
I think that's a 5-0, and that does pass. And business item number 4 is consideration of ratification of the FEMA Assistance to Firefighters Grant application. Mr. Mueller.
Yes, Commission, Chairman. We're requesting approval to apply for the FEMA Assistance to Firefighter Grant. We applied for it last year for the LifeScan physicals for all our firefighters and some fitness equipment. This year, we're trying to apply again for LifeScans for all of our volunteer firefighters and some SCBA air packs.
Any questions of Mr. Mueller?
None here.
Nope.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I move approval.
We have a motion.
Second,
Yep.
Glutine.
We have a second from Commissioner Totticini. With that, we could do a vote on that, please.
Chairman Fortner,
Yes.
Chairman Pro Tem Crowley,
Yes.
Commissioner Beckstead,
Yes.
Commissioner Totticini,
Yes.
and Commissioner Sullivan.
Yes.
Thank you.
That passes 5-0. Business item number 5, consideration and approval of submission of the annual 2020 Emergency Management Performance Grant Funding Opportunity Application and Work Plan. Mr. Messis.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. Staff is seeking approval to apply for the 2020 Emergency Management Performance Grant. Just a little background, this grant pays for 50% of my salary, 50% of my coordinator's salary. It's an annual grant that's usually a given, but we have to apply anyway, and I'll stand for any questions.
Any questions from commissioners?
No.
No?
No.
Mr. Chair, I move
Chairman, this
approval.
is Mike.
Yes, Mike?
I'd like to go ahead and make a motion that we approve consideration and approval for submission of the annual 2020 Emergency Management Performance Grant.
We have a motion
I have second.
And second.
and a second from Jack Fortner. Thank you. We have a roll call vote on that, please.
Chairman Fortner,
Yes.
Chairman Pro Tem Crowley,
Yes.
Commissioner Beckstead,
Yes.
Commissioner Totticini,
Yes.
and Commissioner Sullivan.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's a 5-0, and that also passes. Business item number 6, consideration of ratification of emergency declaration declaring emergency as a result of the COVID-19. Mr. Mestis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, a little bit background as you have the document in front of you in regards to the COVID-19. Little background on December 31st of last year, the country of China alerted the World Health Organization of several cases of pneumonia in Wuhan, China. At the time, the virus was unknown. Later on, the virus was later known as the coronavirus and was told it was spread through proximity of an infected person by inhaling droplets when the person coughed or sneezed, or by touching surfaces where the drops landed. So on January 14th and February 11th, my public health committee, through our local emergency planning committee, began discussing the virus and the potential for San Juan County. The week of March the 2nd, Mr. Stark and I met with hospital leaders as well as City of Farmington officials in preparation. On March the 13th, the President of the United States declared a federal emergency. And on Monday, March 16th, we asked Commission Chairman Fortner to declare an emergency as a result of COVID-19 for San Juan County. At this time, I'm asking the Commission to ratify this declaration of emergency for San Juan County, in which the cities of Farmington, Aztec, Bloomfield, and the town of Kirtland will adopt. I stand for any questions.
Mr. Mestis, in this process, those of us who are commissioners have been presented with information for the last weeks, almost every day, with regard to what's going on. But I think the public needs to know why New Mexico counties would create an emergency declaration, and what does it cover?
Okay, the New Mexico counties asked the locals to declare emergency, that we would fall under the federal declaration. That way we would be able to more easily adapt to the funding stream and the items such as supplies that would come through the Department of Homeland Security through the federal docket. Also, I do want to advise you that at the start of this meeting, La Plata County and Durango did recently at 11:30 report that they have their first positive case as well.
Chairman Pro Tem,
Yes.
in the resolution number 2, you have the cities of Aztec, Bloomfield, Farmington, Kirkland. Can the Navajo Nation be included there? I feel like we're left out.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Todicini, the Navajo Nation has declared a state of emergency on their own. And just a little background, Navajo Nation can declare directly to the federal, to FEMA. They don't have to go through the state. So they can bypass a certain channel. So, and they have already declared their state of emergency. But just keep in mind, we're communicating with them. We're working together as partners, and we're assisting IHS in Shiprock.
Can we be included there? Navajo Nation?
Yes, I don't see any reason we can't make that amendment.
That would
That would
help
make
my voters.
Sounds good.
Okay.
With an amendment.
Any other questions from commissioners?
That would have to be an amendment made to that.
Yes.
Correct.
And we'll do that at the time of the motion. Are you want to make a motion now?
I guess we have to make a motion.
We can continue to discuss.
Amendment.
And then add that on.
Yes, we can do that. Do you want to make an motion now, or do you want us to continue discussion?
I'll have somebody else make.
Okay, are there any other commissioners who have discussion with this?
I don't have any more discussion, so I'll make the motion that we approve the ratification emergency declaration with that amendment as requested by Commissioner Todicini.
Second.
Motion and a second. Do we have a roll call vote on this, please?
Chairman Fortner,
Yes.
Chairman Pro Tem Crowley,
Yes?
Commissioner Beckstead,
Yes.
Commissioner Todicini,
Yes.
and Commissioner Sullivan.
Yes.
Thank you.
It passes 5-0. But I would like to ask Mr. Stark if he could come and kind of make some more discussion about some of the stuff that we as commissioners have received. Like I have, this is the March 17th leadership meeting briefing. These are things that are going on within the county. We have a number of other things. We get a situation report. We're on number 7, I believe. Today will be 8. And these are things that change from time to time through the process of reporting to the state and ultimately federally to do what we're supposed to do. So there's an update on March 23rd. And can you give us a little bit of help with regard to that and how we're dealing with things in the county?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Pro Tem, and Commissioners. Yes, I'd be happy to. Within San Juan County, we are very blessed to have the Office of Emergency Management. That is, as you know, is headed up by Mike Mestis and his team, and very well versed and very well experienced in handling emergencies like this and crises like this. And we've been actually working on this since January, planning and preparing, bringing together all the local stakeholders under one tent like we always do, because we know how important it is in events like this to make certain we're all communicating, collaboratively working together. And that's from all the different agencies, from the school districts to the college, to our local municipalities, to first responders, to the hospital, of course. I can't think that in the midst of a public health crisis, they are the lead agency here, that we're working collectively with them to make certain that first and foremost, we are keeping our community safe and doing what we can to limit the spread of COVID-19 through our community. So that group is very critical to how we've been able to bring all the right resources to play. Our community today is very much ahead of the game as it relates to this. But we knew that this day would be inevitable, and that day was Saturday that we received the first notice of the first reported case in San Juan County. But the good news is we've been planning and preparing for that to make certain that we are ready to respond. And we are ready to respond for more cases. We know there will be more. We know that there are 26 cases now on the Navajo Nation. And we're, of course, as Mr. Mestis pointed out, partnering with the Navajo Nation as well, because at the end of the day, we're protecting our county, but this is also a Four Corners regional matter that we want to make certain we have those lines of communication open with our local communities around the area. So, as you know, we have been closely monitoring and working with the State Department of Health and State Epidemiology. They're a key partner with us in this and taking the lead on presenting information. As I mentioned, the hospital, can't say enough about the leadership there, from the CEO, Jeff Bourgeois, down to Dr. Greenberg, who's led the medical charge for them, Ruth Brooks, and all the other healthcare providers in our community that are collaboratively working with us. First responders, those that are out, our police, sheriff's office, our fire department, our Office of Emergency Management employees, our detention officers, our janitorial staff. There is so much to say about all the folks that are coming together to work for the benefit of the community and internally and externally here within the county. So, and I can give you more specifics as it relates, and I'm happy to do that as it relates to the different briefings and meetings that we've had, because there's a lot going on and a lot that we're managing. Ultimately, at the end of the day, to keep our community safe, to keep our citizens safe, to keep our employees safe, and to ultimately stop the spread of this virus. And each and every citizen, important message, each and every citizen has a role in using the preventative measures that are out there. As you can see today with today's commission meeting, we're doing everything we can to do this remotely, to social distance ourselves for those that are here. It's important that the community takes note of that, and that they do their part to social distance, to wash their hands frequently with soap and water for 20 seconds, to cover their cough. All those things are very important, and we're imploring and urging citizens to take this matter serious and to do the same. And Commissioner, Mr. Chairman Pro Tem, I know you have a question, so I'll stop there.
Yes, I was going to interrupt because since we just started this meeting, we have notice from the governor's office that she will be later this afternoon making an announcement regarding a shelter-in-place order for all New Mexico. So that just means that our management team will be back with others in the I want to call it situation room.
Emergency Operations Center.
The Operations Center for Emergency Management, where they'll be taking whatever comes out in the order and showing us how it plays out in the community among us, and how it affects agencies of the government as well as the public in their businesses. One other thing was with regard to the hotline. There is a hotline number which is part of the process. If you think you are infected, you don't just run to the hospital. You start with calling the 855 number, which is 855-600-3453, so they can take you through the process. And that way, those people who are being directed to the hospital don't clog up the system of being able to identify those who are at risk. And so we ask people to continue to do that. There are a couple other things I wanted you to mention, and you can go from there. And thank you for letting me interrupt you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman Pro Tem, members of the commission. That's an important message, because ultimately at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is flatten the curve and to not overload the healthcare system nationally, within the state. And then, of course, as we're concerned with the capacity of San Juan Regional Medical Center, that they're able to manage the influx of cases as they come in, and still manage the other cases that will come in relative to illnesses, relative to, say, heart attacks, broken bones. Those things are still going to happen during this time. And so that's the key here of making sure we don't overload the healthcare system. And so being able to get citizens to do their part, that with the governor's order, they may not have a choice to do their part. They will be required to stay at home. Thank you for sharing that breaking news. And as you know, one of the things that we've done all along is to make certain that we're complying in full with the governor's orders. And we've done that since the very first one that was issued the week before last. And then, of course, the updated one that took place this past Wednesday. So, we can talk about some of the other, as you look at today, went to a limited operations phase of our plan here in the county, to where those office environments that could go to appointment only have done that. We're not, per the last order of the governor, she did not close public buildings. She did not say reduce all of your services immediately. So we've had to maintain obviously services, but we can do that using technology. And our folks are a lot of great resources online for our citizens. They can conduct a lot of business online. And like I said, we're still interacting with citizens by appointment only if their business is necessary. That's another thing we're checking as they call in. Is this a matter that really needs to be taken care of and handled today? We're going to be understanding of the fact that there may be folks that don't, as our assessor has mentioned, may not be able to file for their exemption this year. We're going to work with folks, and hopefully the state of New Mexico, per the law, will be working with folks. At the end of the day, there's going to be a need to have relief provided to all of our businesses here in San Juan County as it relates to them having to comply with the orders. And the last one with it relating to closing dine-in options at restaurants and moving to a different method of service through a drive-through or home delivery. A lot of employees last week were laid off because of the lack of business. And so this will have ripple effects for many months to come. And of course, we'll be working with our state legislators, our federal legislators, that hopefully there'll be appropriate relief packages put in place that will make its way to the state of New Mexico, to local governments here, to ultimately our citizens who are going to need those relief packages the most as we're all coming together to stop this pandemic, to make sure we're keeping folks safe and healthy. And then at the very end of this, and who knows when the very end will be, that we have the appropriate recovery mechanisms in place for individuals and for businesses.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes. Commissioner.
if I might add, I mean, as the commission, we're also doing our part, just by this meeting. You know, you guys are obviously maintaining separation. Commissioner Beckstead and I are, and we thought it would be best that if only two of you appeared, and you were in Aztec and I was in a separate court, you know, it was a good idea to do this. So, I mean, I appreciate the entire commission cooperating in this manner.
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner.
what concerns me is that our citizens are doing horrendous panic buying, which puts like the poor elders without nothing, mothers who have to keep their children while they're not in school, and yet you go to the store and things are wiped out, shelves are empty. And I keep hearing that there's no need for that. If you could just do maybe 2 weeks supply, but it puts the other people in a real tough situation where you can't get enough of the supplies to manage your household. I wish we could do something to let the citizens know, you know, the supplies will come in. There's no reason to hoard. And then once they find out they didn't need to hoard, then they go and start selling at high prices to the poor citizens. I wish that could be addressed somehow.
Yeah.
To the citizens, please, you know, we have enough in this country that, and I know the truckers were saying that there's enough and people don't need to go and take all those things off the shelves. I mean, items have shelf life. Like I was surprised when I saw all the bread that was taken. Later on, there was still some on the shelves. So we do need to address that. I was thinking if the Navajo Nation wants people to stay inside, is like bring them a box of some toilet paper, canned goods, and I'm sure people would stay home because that needs to be managed somehow. And I appreciate all that law enforcement, the fire department, the emergency people, the medical people are doing. But the citizens need to help out here. So I just want to add that.
Mr. Chairman Pro Tem, if I could, Commissioner Totocini, you're absolutely right. The messaging that we're sending out collectively as a group is first and foremost to stay calm. You know, there's great plans in place here. We're prepared. We're ready to respond. You know, it's a little different in larger metro areas. And so we're probably blessed in that regard that we're not, you know, don't have the population density of New York. And so we can spread out. We can do our part to stop the spread of this virus here a lot easier than they can in large metro areas. And in terms of hoarding, yes, the supply lines, you make them tighter when you go out and hoard, and there's no need to do that. Folks, unfortunately, need to stay informed too with good information, good facts. Part of the hoarding mentality takes place because it's the fear of the unknown. And of course, you know, there's not a vaccine today. Still working on some potential antivirals that might be available. But if you do your part to social distance, to stay home, to wash your hands, to cover your cough, if you're sick and you're one of those essential employees that has to come in, and we have those folks in our county. And those folks are not just those that work for San Juan County. Essential activities are those folks which are important. Grocery store clerks, folks that are stocking shelves, they have to come into work. But if they're coming into work and coming in sick, they're not doing our community any favors. And so everybody has a role to play here. And yes, we've got those essential activities that will have to continue. We still have to live. We still have to make it through this. But we need to make sure that people are taking this matter serious. They're staying home when they can. And not trying to unnecessarily expose folks to this virus. And specifically, it's the population that we're trying to keep from obtaining this, and that's the elderly with underlying health conditions. That's the group that you're seeing in other nations such as Italy, China, here in the US. That's the group that's most vulnerable, and we're trying to keep those folks from obtaining this, and everyone has got to do their part. Thank you for that message. That message needs to be repeated over and over and over again.
Thank you very much. Any other comments from commissioners? I hear none.
Okay.
I think we can move on to item number.
Did we already take a roll call vote on that item?
We did, yes. We're
Thank you.
between 6 and 7, I think. Mr. Stoyer.
Hello, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. The COVID-19 emergency declaration, which you just ratified, gave the county manager authority to put in place limited operations policies. The county manager has developed the remote work and leave policy and procedure and donated leave bank to cope with the social distancing recommendations and mandates of the government. The remote work policy allows department heads and elected officials to determine which employees can work from home and which employees are necessary to stay at work or duty in the community. To work at home, an employee must have his or her own computer and internet access. During work hours, the employee is expected to be at his or her home workstation, available by phone, text, and email. The employee must be available as quickly as they would be in the building. All duties remain the same, and employees are expected to clock in. If the department head or elected official determines that an employee should work from home, but the employee does not have the work resources, the employee would need to take accrued paid leave or may be assigned by the county manager to other duties. Each employee working remotely must sign a contract agreeing to the remote work terms. In addition to the remote work policy, a donated leave bank is also being set up just for COVID-19 related sickness. If an employee runs out of his own or her own accrued paid leave, they can apply to the donated leave bank. The leave in the bank is donated by employees, but those donating leave must have 160 hours of accrued leave left over after the donation. And once donated to the bank, hours won't be returned. So staff is recommending that the commission adopt the remote work and leave policy and procedure and the donated leave policies and procedure.
Mr. Stark, have a couple other comments that you can maybe tell us about the VPN, the virtual protection network, that private network that we have, and just what our IT has been able to do that's kind of unprecedented, I think, maybe around the state.
Yes, Mr. Chairman Pro Tem, members of the commission. As you know, I put these policies in place last week, effective for today, and we are very blessed. And I mentioned a lot of folks earlier on our staff that are providing great services here within the county, but it just goes on the list with all the folks that are helping. And IS, no doubt, took the lead on this last week as we put together a remote work policy, because we ultimately, at the end of the day, want to keep as many people as safe and free of this virus as possible. And so we were able to, with the technology that's been put in place and the web-based programs that we have here in the county, it's been a concerted effort over the last 5 years that you all have seen the wisdom in investing in this technology that allows us to have, I believe today the count is over 50 employees who are working remotely. They're able to connect from their home computer via VPN connection, a virtual private network, and that allows us to maintain safety and security of county data and allows them to access that right from their desktop computer at home. I can tell you that just in visiting with my colleagues that are fellow county managers across the state, a lot of counties don't have that technology, and we do. And so we're able to have employees that are deemed remote work eligible by their supervisor or by their department head or elected official to work remotely. And that technology really has come in handy for an event like this, to where we can still continue with the continuity of business operations in the county. for those that are in those office environments. Of course, we're doing everything we can likewise to keep folks at the various public safety agencies who have to respond, who have to be in the field responding to the community. They don't have the ability to remote work, but we're doing and have instituted policies to check temperatures of employees when they come in, do a screening every day to make certain that folks unknowingly or unknowingly are bringing a virus into our facilities for those facilities that have to stay open. And so those measures have gone in place as well within the various public safety agencies. And of course, just even those 3 detention facilities, I might add, that same meeting takes place when individuals are presented to us at the jail. We're doing that screening out in the Sallyport area before a detainee comes into the facility. We're catching that out in advance. So we put a lot of protective measures across the board. As you know, I've sent a detailed update to you all listing all the things that we've done throughout the county as it relates to our operations to limit exposure as much as we can and still continue with operations that are essential in nature to the community.
Thank you very much. I think we're ready for any more questions. And but before we go there, Clerk Tanya, can you come, Shelby, and speak to us about how this affects elected officials?
Chairman Pro Tem and members of the commission, I first and foremost would like to thank you. One of the reasons why San Juan County is so proactive on this is because over 2 years ago, you all allowed my office to work from home. So we have literally worked out a lot of the bugs. Thanks to you, we are, way far more advanced than some of the other counties. I just wanted to thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Mr. Chair, I know that we took classes on emotional intelligence, and I'm glad that we're using that and that we're being proactive again. So I'd like to make a motion that we approve and this ratification of remote work policy and donated leave bank policy.
Have a motion? Is there a second?
Second by Jack.
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner Fortner. We have a motion and a second. Can you please do a roll call vote, please?
Chairman Fortner,
Yes.
Chairman Pro Tem Crowley,
Yes.
Commissioner Beckstead,
Yes.
Commissioner Totticini,
Yes.
Commissioner Sullivan.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's 5-0. That does pass. We have a number 8, which would be consideration of resolution 19-20-50, requesting, except I believe it's 51, requesting all casinos in San Juan County to follow governor's public health order on this action. So is it 50 or is it 51?
I think it's 50.
Okay.
We numbered it on Thursday and there was a little mix up
Okay,
afterwards.
so we're correct, you think?
I think we are.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, on March 11th, Governor Lujan Grisham declared a public health emergency requiring state and public subdivisions to comply with instructions from the Department of Public Health. So in relation to that, on March 16th, 2020, Secretary Kunkel of the Department of Public Health issued an order closing New Mexico casinos during the duration of the governor's emergency declaration. On March 13th, Navajo Nation President Jonathan Nez issued an executive order declaring a state of emergency on the Navajo Nation. And on March 17th, the Navajo Gaming Enterprise closed all Navajo Nation casinos until April 6th, 2020. So casinos are all closed, but it appears that unlikely that the pandemic will be alleviated by April 6th, 2020. So as a result, the staff is requesting that the Navajo Nation, that you adopt this resolution urging the Navajo Nation to follow the governor's emergency order, closing all casinos in San Juan County until she lifts the order. So that would be more time than April 6, 2020.
Very good. Questions from commission?
No.
None from,
I'd like to make a motion on that.
Commissioner Dodicini, go ahead.
On resolution 19-20-50, requesting all casinos in San Juan County to follow governor's public health order.
Do we have a second on that?
I'd like to second it. Right, this is Jack.
Commissioner Fortner, thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Chairman Fortner,
Yes.
Chairman Pro Tem Crowley,
Yes?
Commissioner Beckstead,
Yes.
Commissioner Totocini,
Yes.
and Commissioner Sullivan.
Yes.
Thank you.
That passes a 5-0. We have a report from the county manager, Mr. Stark.
Oh, just a minute. Mr. Chair,
Yes,
I just want to, did we make that motion and second on number 6? I wasn't too sure. We did. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman Pro Tem, members of the commission. Just a quick update. We've covered a lot of ground today about our response, both externally to the community, internally what we're doing for employees to make certain we're keeping, as you know, everyone safe here in San Juan County. We did have a DOT, Mr. Chairman Pro Tem, I know you're aware that we've been requesting and urging the Department of Transportation to come up and really spend some time working on our state highway right-of-ways, making sure that they're presentable and clean and free of trash. And I know you participated in a meeting with our state highway DOT Commissioner, Tom Taylor, who represents this commission district for DOT, and then Mr. George Dodge, who's their legislative governmental liaison. And we were scheduled to have a cleanup tomorrow. They were going to bring 50+ employees from other DOT districts to San Juan County to specifically work first on the stretch of highway between Aztec and Farmington on Highway 516. Unfortunately, that event has been canceled, obviously for a good reason. We're glad they've canceled it. But I did want you to know that we're working that issue and we'll continue to work that issue once we've made it through the pandemic. We believe it's important, as you know, with the gateway signage that that you all have approved, that it's very important to continue to work on the appearance of the county, especially on those gateway entrances that happen to be on state highways. So we do have a lot of support from the State Department of Transportation and very much appreciate their attention to that matter. One other item I'd like to bring up, and this is part of the recovery phase that I mentioned earlier, that financially and this is by no means our primary focus. Our primary focus is on the community, keeping our community safe, keeping our community healthy. But we are keeping a close eye to what financially this could mean. Obviously, nationally, statewide, locally, that all will filter down with the number of folks that were laid off last week, businesses that are closed, activity that's been limited for good reason. I don't want anybody to misconstrue this, but that will lead to the potential that we're going to have some revenue shortfalls. We're analyzing that closely. Our Chief Financial and Strategy Officer, Jim Cox, has been closely watching that. And I want you all to know that we have sufficient reserves to make it through this year. We've analyzed that. We feel good about the conservative budget that we have, that you all have approved and continue to manage, very, very fiscally conservative approach. And I think that's what's helpful in these times of crisis, is that we are managing that wisely. So I want you to know that. I know that's a concern. Ultimately, we're going to be working with our legislators. I know I had a call from Representative Montoya over the weekend. There's going to be a need for a special session in Santa Fe to deal with revenue shortfalls, but also I think COVID-19 relief packages. And of course, you know, at the federal level, there's a huge stimulus bill being considered there as well. The hope is that those dollars will flow to the states and potentially directly to local governments. As we're managing this crisis and using county resources, we have the ability to take care of all the needs of our citizens today. And I want you to rest assured that financially we're in good shape, but those will be matters that we will deal with at a later date. But I wanted you to know that we're proactively watching that. And last but not least, you know, is part of your update that I sent you that's very, very long and I couldn't get through it all if I tried. But we've had a lot of questions with volunteer opportunities. How can folks who want to help, how can they help? And we've listed that on there. The local chapter of the American Red Cross at 505-231-8164 is a place that citizens can go to find out how they can help. The San Juan United Way is directing folks accordingly. Sure, Mr. Neely has an update, so I'll have him come forth. And then the San Juan Medical Reserve Corps, those folks that can help with medical related issues in the county, they can contact Brent Hamilton at San Juan Regional Medical Center, B. Hamilton at sjrmc.net. And so we've had a lot of questions. And so I want to make sure you all were aware of those resources so you can direct your constituents as they call to be able to help out with that. And then I'll bring up Mr. Neely, who has a update from San Juan United Way.
Chairman Pro Tem and Commissioners, thank you for your time. We are working, the Office of Emergency Management is working with San Juan Regional Medical Center and the San Juan United Way to set up a hotline using the 211 number. Right now, we're accepting information from any organizations that have an opportunity for folks to get involved, to get in touch with the volunteer center at San Juan College. And then by hopefully Tuesday or Wednesday this week, we'll be putting out some information on the availability of the 211 helpline through the San Juan United Way. So we'd like to recognize and appreciate the assistance from San Juan College Volunteer Center, San Juan College in general, and our friends at San Juan United Way.
Plus the blood shortage that we need people to donate.
Correct.
Mr. Stark, you have some other?
Chairman Pro Tem, no, that concludes my report unless you had any questions.
No, thank you. I appreciate that. And of course, you and I have already discussed this, but the financial update that you just did, we are below 70% of our budget expended this year, and we're 75% through the year. So we have a margin that's there, but also that the fact is, through your office and through our staff, we are monitoring what's going on with the GRT and how to approach that difference as it comes to be. And so we will deal with that. Is there anything else from elected officials or department heads at this time?
None here.
Okay. Any other commissioners? I'm hearing none. I don't believe we have anything. I will declare us adjourned.
So moved.
Thank you.
Thank you much.
So, Jim, in your packet is a revised, an amended emergency declaration and the resolution for you to sign.
Right.
As well as that resolution has been changed to refer to the amended. I gotta go to another phone meeting.
Okay.
I understand.
But the water commission take care of business. Thanks, Deb. Yeah.
Get it for you.
Nobody in the building.
This grant requires a German
I think in stream.
Well, we'll have to check that out for next time.
Yeah.
So
This won't be the last time we do it.
we have to keep